masculinity.
Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I had to double check and make sure I was still a heterosexual man after seeing these photos on Gardner Minshew's Instagram perna. Even now, I think those lines have been blurred forever. Just like those meaningless trees behind Gardner's mullet and bulging football muscles. You can thank me in the comments for screen capping these works of art from his Instagram. Today, we will take a look at Josh Gordon's debut in the FCF, Zach Ertz on the trading block, and I will make a case for why the Jaguars would be smart to keep Gardner Minshew and trade the #1 overall pick. And it's not clickbait, okay? I really believe this. And no, I'm not high. And no, I have not destroyed the Tom Brady giant Lego head yet. Don't worry. It will be an individual video, and it will probably happen in April. And shut up. Shut up. I am going to destroy you. You are not my co-host. I am going to make you scream. You won't miss it. The video will be titled Destroying Tom Brady's Giant Ugly Face or something. Whew. That's good sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for football news. I will have Patreon shoutouts at the end of today's episode, so stick around for those. Today, we're sponsored by Raycon.com/thatsgood, which will blast 15% off your order of Raycon earbuds. There are many reasons I love Raycon, but here are my top 3. First, they look good in your head. Sleek, with colors to match any sports coat, with nothing weird sticking out of your ears to make you look like a robot. Second, they are priced better than any other premium wireless earbuds. Thirdly, the charging/storage case they come in gives you more battery life than you'll ever use in a single day. The earbuds themselves will go for like 6 hours, but if you keep them in their case when not using them, you'll find yourself rarely having to charge them. So click my link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/thatsgood to get 15% off your order. And please, stop sending me your mixtapes to listen to with my Raycons. Nothing could make those sound good. Nothing. Now, Josh Gordon, in his FCF fan-controlled football debut for the Zappers, scored 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning Hail Mary. Although a 30-yard pass should not be called a Hail Mary, despite being 3/5 of the FCF field. Maybe Hail Larry. I don't know. Gordon looked like an 8th grader bawling out against 6th graders on the field. It wasn't so much his stats at 4 catches for 70 yards plus a point after attempt catch, but the way he grabbed this game-winning ball. The phrase, like taking candy from a baby, came after seeing something like this. And I should know, I have a 6-month-old baby, and I have tested this cliche several times. Babies are weak. They're so weak.
Masculinity.
Now, the disappointing part of this game was that Johnny Manziel was not active, so the reunion I was excited for did not occur, but it should happen this week for the FCF playoffs. Gordon's touchdown passes came from Logan Marchi and Braden Smith throwing the game winner. As an aside, our friend from the XFL, Quentin Flowers, leads the league with 11 touchdown passes, which is cool to see him succeeding there. Now, the Eagles are apparently listening to Zach Ertz trade calls. Philly probably wants Ertz's $8.25 million base salary off the books for 2021. A lot of good players are going to get screwed by the dropping salary cap this year, which is getting more complicated as the NFL has yet to officially set the cap number. According to Ian Rappaport, the franchise tag deadline may get moved back if the cap isn't set today. Either the NFL has no clue how much money it made in 2020, or Roger Goodell is getting really lazy with his math homework. Zach Ertz had his least productive season ever in 2020 with just 36 receptions and 1 touchdown in 11 games. He had the same 36 catches in his rookie season, but found the end zone 4 times and was targeted 15 fewer times that season, so he was way more efficient as a rookie. Masculinity. So, why are so many teams still interested in Zach Ertz? Why are teams' quarterbacks telling their GMs to go get Ertz, as James Palmer reported? Well, this should give Colts fans some optimism. It's because the Eagles' offense was a hot mess last season. If both Wentz and Ertz had their worst seasons, then maybe the problem was bigger than them. But here's where it gets a little confusing. Now, the Eagles have also stated they are ready to build around Jalen Hurts and make him successful in 2021. So why on earth would you get rid of your best receiving weapon you've had since prime Deshaun Jackson? Well, Eagles team owner Jeff Lurie said, "With everything going on right now with Dr. Seuss, I just can't, in good consciousness, have football announcers saying, 'Hurts to Ertz for another first.' That kind of rhyming will make you look like a racist in 70 years. Way to think ahead, Jeff. Now, teams that might be calling on Ertz, the Colts, which could be funny to see him reunited with Wentz after they were technically never not united. The Seahawks, the Patriots, I'd love to see him in a Bills uniform, and maybe the Cowboys, to which the Eagles fond interest and then just place their call on hold indefinitely. The master move for spam calls. Now, most people would be ridiculed for rocking a mullet, but the right man to wear it ironically makes it hip. And that man is Gardner Minshew. I just need to think of a name for that type of southern tastemaker because he's certainly not a hipster. Maybe Swamp Chic, Ude Cletus, or Dolce Gabbana. Whatever it is, Minshew should be a highly sought-after quarterback for any team unsure about their starting QB, and it has nothing to do with how bad I wish I was him. Genetically speaking, of course. So my question for the Jaguars is, why go out for steak when you have a legal game at home? Minshew is some mix of bald eagle and shark fin, equal parts majestic and badass. Why be weird and dress like Cam Newton and get made fun of when you can be just as weird and dress like Gardner Minshew and be celebrated? It's a great mystery, but Jacksonville will not embrace who they really are. Through 2 strange seasons in Jacksonville, Gardner's shown a ton of potential to be a viable starter despite landing in one of the worst situations imaginable. Like if Josh Rosen had succeeded in spite of the avalanche of shit threatening to bury him at every stop. Minshew threw just 5 picks in 9 games in 2020. Both Mike Glennon and Jake Luton threw picks at a much higher rate for the Jags last season, like good little cogs in the tank machine. Which, I guess a tank machine is really just a tank. The Jags were 8th worst in total turnovers at 25, and the biggest weakness I see in Minshew's game is his fumbles. He had 13 his rookie year, a very Daniel Jonesian number, but followed it up with just 5 fumbles in 2020 while his team was actively sabotaging the protective walls around him. So, somehow, when everything around him got worse, he started to improve. If he goes to a good team, I'm laying down the gauntlet here, folks, he will become an NFL superstar. Masculinity. A perennial top 10, maybe top 5 QB. His interception percentage of 1.5 puts him on par with like Ryan Tannehill and Drew Brees / the Saints in 2020 since Brees missed some games. Gardner Minshew received no help from a defense that was scrapped for parts and picks by the Jaguars front office. He had an offensive line that was bottom 10 in run blocking and bottom 15 in pass blocking, and a defense that gave up the 2nd most points in the NFL with 30.8 per game. Beyond that, They allowed the third worst rushing yards per game at 153.3, which means their opponents ate up time and had long drives against them, making it even harder for a quarterback to establish any sort of rhythm. What I'm saying is, other teams game plan to keep Minshew on the sideline like they used to with Peyton Manning, which worked because the Jaguars were also game planning to keep Minshew on the sideline as he gave them the best chance to win. Outside of being able to wear cutoff jean shorts year-round, Minshew had literally no advantages of playing in Jacksonville in 2020, and his one win for that team would be worth at least 8 wins on any other competent franchise, 12 on a good team. If the Jaguars get moderately better on defense and make some improvements on the offensive line this offseason, Trevor Lawrence is going to get all of the credit. And it makes me sad Minshew won't get that opportunity because I think they have emerging talent at the skill positions in wide receivers Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, and maybe the best running back coming out of college in 2020 in James Robinson. He was undrafted and statistically had a better season than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the first back taken in the 2020 draft. And Robinson did it on a much, much worse team. My point is that Jacksonville didn't need to strip themselves down to nothing to tank for Trevor. They have a guy they could have built around in Gardner Minshew. They basically found their version of Tom Brady, a 6th rounder that isn't the most athletically gifted quarterback, but showed immediately that he understands the game, makes good decisions with the football, and can probably take a team the distance with a great defense and competent coaching. The difference between Minshew and Tom Brady is that Gardner tore it up his senior season at the college level. 4,779 passing yards, 70.7 completion percentage, 7.2 yards per attempt, and 38 touchdowns to just 9 picks. Dating all the way through college, and Minshew did a lot of dating in college, trust me, he's never thrown 10 picks in a season. I think this is just another example that if you put him in an aggressive offense, he can attack through the air safely and be incredibly successful. In college, he switched schools in 2018, joining Mike Leach at Washington State, and his production doubled. I believe he'd do that in Jacksonville if they just built around him, but more importantly, I think he can do that for another team, like the 49ers, or hell, the Seahawks, or most importantly, my Denver Broncos, who have all the weapons he could ask for and an aggressive play caller in Pat Shurmur. Now the big question, is Trevor Lawrence better than Gardner Minshew? Yes. I mean, Mel Kiper gives Lawrence his 4th overall best draft grade ever, coming in behind John Elway at 1, Andrew Luck at 2, and Peyton Manning at 3, all of which were drafted by the Colts. Now if only the Broncos can get Andrew Luck to end his career in Denver somehow. The hype around Lawrence is so high, Jacksonville will draft him number 1 overall without any questions. Only Chris Sims will be seething in the corner waiting for his beloved mini-me, Zach Wilson, to get drafted. Zach Wilson is actually only 1 inch shorter than Chris Sims. It's just that it's really hard to come to grips with the fact that a guy whose face looks like this is 6'3". It's subliminally terrifying. It doesn't make sense. Personally, I don't think Urban Meyer is going to be a great NFL head coach, so if the Jags do deal Minshew, it might be better for him. But I can't help but think the Jags could trade with, say, the Falcons, and then have 4 picks in the first 35 this year, well, 5 in the first 45, plus 2 first-rounders next year, while building an incredibly talented and young team that would be cheaper than Shad Khan's yearly supply of mustache wax. Masculinity. Tom Brady went to an ideal situation in New England, but if he hadn't, had he been drafted by a shit team like the 2000 Browns or Bengals, he might be Gardner Minshew right now. And it's easy now to say that you would keep Tom Brady and not say draft Eli Manning or Roethlisberger or Phillip Rivers a couple years later if you were on a shit team because you hadn't seen his potential. But that is the exact position I believe Gardner Minshew is in right now. Unfortunately for him, the Jags, well, they have stockpiled picks, have a bunch of cap space, and can basically do everything I just mentioned sans a few extra picks they would net in my hypothetical trade by just drafting Trevor Lawrence, the easy thing. Plus, they will avoid being called the dumbest team in the NFL for a year by not listening to me. But by the end of that year, they'd be called geniuses for getting to the playoffs and having 2 first-rounders in the next draft to become true contenders in 2022 by doing something unconventional. Or maybe I do just suffer from Minshew mania. I mean, mania means a mental illness marked by periods of great excitement or euphoria, delusions, and overactivity, and maybe I just see what I want to see with Gardner, the perfect man who could become the perfect QB. Patreon. Every month, for all $10 monthly donors, we do a live Zoom meeting where we just hang out and chat. It's usually the last week of the month. During the football season, we upload a weekly predictions video for all $5 and above patrons. So if you want to support the channel, you do it there. Patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. And here are your big dick Patreon shoutouts. Subscribe to South Park 981, YouTube and Twitch. Do it, guys. Subscribe there. American Football International. Check us out for football news, highlights, and analysis featuring teams, leagues, and games. FR. It cuts off after a while, guys. You gotta keep those names brief. Monkey Butt 77, Mike McClintock, Howie Feltersnatch, upping to $12. That takes me back to middle school. Worthless Pieces of Fuck Incorporated, upping to $13.37 a month. Sportsball 101, upping to $10. Thank you guys so much for your support. You're awesome. I love you. Subscribe.